Hello fellow dragons, it's Shane from Astral Dragon Gaming, and yes, it's review time. Today's review is Jenny LeClue. LeClue. Clue. You know, you can say it any way you want. Anyway, this has been a game that has been on a hiatus for so long, and when it finally did come out, it came out with very little fanfare, which is kind of sucky because, you know, in this modern day and age where a lot of games are sort of, yes, we have to have multiplayer, we have to have lots and lots of pretty things, and we have to have really high stake games all the time, huge energy, and all that crap. I honestly can't maintain that. I give people credit to doing Twitch and everything is like, and just going, yeah, alright, I'm winning, yeah. It's like, how can you do that? Bang, back to the game. The game is an adventure game. It is back to the old school kind of adventure games, but with a few sort of added bonuses and differences to give its own sort of quirks and changes. But again, we're not talking about anything sort of remaking the mold or anything like that. We're talking about just a game that is good, it tells a story, and it sounds good, and it's interesting. It's out on Steam. I don't know if they're going to release it on any of the other consoles at some point, but yeah, who knows. So, you play as Jenny LeClue, a plucky, tiny little sort of young child that has an overactive imagination and mind. Sounds like most of my kids. And she can't not find clues, can't not find mysteries and other things. The only problem is she lives in the most dullest and nicest town in the world, Arthurton, where nothing really happens. She solves mysteries and problems that are just dull. Until she finally gets her big one chance. A murder mystery. Now, I'll get back to the story and tell you sort of what the basic premise of the game is after that point. I just thought I'd outlay what the main protagonist and what the whole thing's sort of based around. The basic idea is that this game is very simplistic, but it has lots of choices. But I love the graphics in this. It's a very simple, cel-shaded 2D game that is all really well done. Love the lighting, love just the atmosphere of all the situations in the game, the movement, the zooming in, the zooming out, all of it is fantastically done and gives a real sort of sense of a very action-orientated adventure game, but at the same time, there's no real sort of super action in this game. It is not very taxing on the computer. It's a really easy game to run, and yeah, it's just, it fits a mold that fits the whole thing, and that's probably what makes this game so enjoyable and so likable, I suppose. We'll go on a bit about the sound and whatnot. Like, as you can hear in the background, it's a very atmospheric game. It's all basic sounds and whatnot, but at the same time, there's a lot of body and heft to things like lightning or environmental sounds, or even just the casual music that sits in the background, which will sort of ramp up in sort of dramatic points and then ramp down again. And the whole thing really sounds fantastic for its entire design and scope. A lot of the really interesting things that I love most about this is that it just oozes personality on the whole way through. Because the reality is Jenny LeClue doesn't exist. She's not real. She's actually a fictional character made by this guy that's a writer, Arthur. And he has created an entire world, and he's been writing these children's books about Jenny LeClue for years. He's up to his 38th book, and it's like, yes! And everyone wants him to kill off the book and just be done with it because it's so boring. Dead in the water. And of course, the writer is just, I can't do that. I need to make it real. So he does everything in his power, and he writes this really intensively interesting story about someone getting murdered. And there's framing, there's sort of misdirections, there's turnabouts, there's things that are mysterious, things that make no sense, and then there are other things that sort of go about the whole thing. It's so well done, and it's so well orchestrated visually and sound wise that it really feels like an adventure mystery novel. So we'll get on to some of the really simple parts about this game. This game, it switches between where you play as Jenny most of the time, but other times you play as a disembodied sort of entity that lives within the writer's house that's looking through all his stuff and makes decisions in the story itself. And that's one big thing about this game. Every time you go through different parts of this game, there is a crucial point where you must make a decision to go one direction or another. And there are things that change in those choices. And there is a whole list of choices, and thankfully the game gives you a huge listing of what those choices are, much like Life is Strange, where it showed a lot of what was going to happen and a lot of the choices that you made and a lot of the choices that you could have made. So I really enjoyed that. This game holds a very special place in my heart, and I think the main reason for it is that when I first saw it, it's like, yes, fantastic, I want to play it. The thing is, what let me down when I started playing this game, like, I still enjoyed playing this game, but what let me down when I started playing it was the simple fact that when you got the trailer, Artisan was voiced. There was voices that were happening and everything. And then when you get the actual game, it's all text. It's presented well and it's given depth and standing and everything like that, but it is still just text on a screen. And that kind of threw me for the first couple of minutes. And then as the game progressed and got further and further along, I actually gave credit to the designers of this game that it was a much more in-depth sort of concept where the emotion and the portrayal of how it was written really changed my view on the game itself. And it was really that kind of view that gave me that really enjoyable part. The game controls well with either keyboard or with keyboard is the only controller, I think, by memory. And then there's also the controller, which works just as fine as well. So the whole thing is really well set out, good mapping. You can remap the keyboard if you want to. I think you can remap the controller as well, if memory serves me right. I've gone blank. But it's just a really good orchestra of game mechanics and game design. Now, I'm not showing you much of the game because this game is best viewed by going through the story yourself, and I think that is the best way to play this game. I love the little investigation sequences that you have to go through where you sort of look at a person, then you just sort of look at all the clues on the person, and then once you've got all the clues, you go to this kind of mind palace idea where you to join ideas and extrapolate what could have happened and then move on from there. And I like how that was done. I love how a lot of the mechanics of the puzzle work that's done here are kind of interconnected into the actual investigation thing, which gives the whole theme of the entire game really good, and which also leads me to looking forward to what the future of this game is, because there is apparently, according to the end of the game, a sequel that goes beyond this game. And I'm not spoiling the ending because the ending is very open-ended and you don't know what the actual result is. It's very strange, it's very unknown, and yeah, it's a mystery all in itself, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the end result of the mystery is. So anyway, that's been my review. I think it's a fantastic game, and I think it's well worth the money to have a play of, and for the adventure gamers out there, it's a game to play because it just adds more to your sort of knowledge of how you look at games and how a story can evolve. A book is not just a book. It is the context, the way it's written and all that, and how it's presented to people. And this game is an exact sort of representation of that kind of concept as well. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that notification, and also if you liked it, hit the like button. If you didn't, well, the thumb down button works just as well. Other than that, I will see you all on the next video. Bye for now.